Ladies and gentlemen, High Albedo is one of the new Europa destination weapons that came into the game with the launch of Beyond Light. This is a sidearm. I know, gross, right? Well, you might not think so, but me and sidearms, we've had a bit of a checkered past. I've never been a huge fan, and maybe I shouldn't say never because I did like them back in Destiny 1, but in Destiny 2, we just never meshed all that well. I mean, I almost quit YouTube altogether because I got so frustrated trying to review Rat King. But I'm all better now, that was a while ago, the scars have healed. So we're gonna give them another shot with High Albedo. Now willing to do this because there's something going on with this gun that has piqued my interest, mainly related to its performance in the Crucible. Now, I am gonna touch on PvE in this review also, but the bulk of the video will be PvP related. And if at any point during the course of this video you find it useful, helpful, or enjoyable, please remember to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel, because this is the absolute best Destiny channel on the interwebs today. And yes, I am kidding. But if you're digging the content, don't be shy about subscribing. I'd love to have you on board. But with that, let's get into the review with a look at the weapon's stats and perks. High Albedo is a legendary kinetic sidearm shooting at 491 rounds per minute with 27 rounds in the magazine. And if the fire rate didn't already give it away, this sidearm intrinsically is the 3-round burst adaptive variety. For the stats, I'm going to start sliding in some solid numbers on my weapon reviews from now on, courtesy of Light.gg. And keep in mind these are simply the base values for the weapon. For the handling range and reload speed, they're all pretty average given the archetype. And here's what made me raise an eyebrow. The stability. While 72 looks pretty nice, it's actually the worst of the archetype by a good bit. But when we pull in the hidden stats, we have an aim assist value of 71, which is by far the best of the archetype. So there's kind of an interesting parity going on here. The recoil on this weapon scores a 99, so the pull from it when it fires will be vertical. This is also a very strong stat for the archetype. For the perks, while I wouldn't consider this the absolute best roll, it does have a lot of benefits. For the barrel, I've been using small bore, adding 7 to both range and stability. I'm using accurized rounds in the magazine for a 10-point bonus to the range stat. In perk column 1, I have Killing Wind, which is a perk that I really like, giving increased mobility, range, and stability for a short duration after a kill. And in perk column 2, I have Headseeker, so landing body shots increases precision damage for a short time. And I have actually never tested Headseeker on this sidearm archetype, so during the damage testing, we're gonna learn something together. Here's the full perk set on screen, and just a few things to touch on before we move forward. I really think small bore is the best barrel option for this weapon, but corkscrew rifling or hammer forged rifling, I'd be happy with also. Also, I'm gonna stick with accurized rounds in the magazine slot. But if the stability on this weapon is an issue for you, maybe look at steady rounds. You're taking a small hit to range, which I'm not particularly keen on, but it might work out in your case. For the first perk, I really think Killing Wind is a fantastic option for High Albedo, but do not sleep on Surplus. I haven't fully tested it yet, but just based on feel alone, it really seems to help out a weapon's performance a great deal. And in perk column 2, I'd be looking for Wellspring or Snapshot sights. Probably more so Wellspring, because abilities are strong in Destiny 2, and more ability uptime is always going to be better. But we'll also see what we can get out of Headseeker in just a few minutes as we head into the damage numbers. Alright, for the damage numbers, High Albedo and other 3-round burst adaptive sidearms will hit for 32 points of damage on a crit and 20 points of damage to the body, giving us an optimal time to kill of 0.73 seconds by landing 5 crits and 2 body shots, and a body shot time to kill of 1.1 seconds, requiring 10 shots landed. For the physical range on this roll, we're going to hit for full damage from up to 16 meters away. Past that point, we're seeing damage fall off. When we do have Killing Wind active though, our optimal range can be stretched just a little bit, now hitting for full damage from right around 17 meters away. This is a minor increase, but the buff does last for 7 seconds after a kill. Now for Headseeker. With a body shot landed, we will get a flat 10% precision damage increase to 35 points of damage on a crit. This damage increase is contained within a single burst, no matter how fast you fire that second burst. So unfortunately, this is not going to affect our optimal time to kill, but it can result in needing one less crit to hit that optimal time to kill. As long as the first 2 bursts land as body crit, the last bullet needed to finish off the Guardian can land to the body. But they must land in that exact order, meaning we're not really getting much out of this perk. One more thing to note here, Tier 6 Resilience is the universally accepted standard for PvP damage testing, and that is what I always stick to. But if an enemy Guardian is running Tier 5 Resilience or less, we can secure a 2-burst kill in 0.5 seconds by landing 6 crits. Which is, yeah, definitely something to consider. But with all that covered, let's get into High Albedo's in-game performance. Alright, as promised, we'll touch on High Albedo in PvE real quick before we dive back into the Crucible. And this weapon performs just fine. As a legendary primary, its job is ad clearing. And while we don't have any great PvE specific perks, this gun feels consistent, stable, and reliable. And being a sidearm, it does put out a pretty good bit of close range burst damage. It is a kinetic weapon though, so you're not going to be relying on this one as a shield buster. But my biggest problem with High Albedo and other sidearms in general for PvE use is the range they need to be used at. Now, this problem isn't apparent when you're playing in baseline PvE activities, but when you step into more difficult content, where enemies are tanking more bullets and hitting harder, being right in the thick of things bouncing around with a sidearm just doesn't feel like the smart play. And I'm sure, as I'm saying this, there's someone out there with a double sidearm loadout, and they got their surprise attack charged with light mod equipped, and they're soloing raid bosses. But just generally speaking, I kinda don't see the point in equipping one. But in PvP, these 3-round burst adaptive sidearms do perform much better, even though the TTK at base is poor compared to other sidearms. It is relatively fast though when compared to the general time to kills of all other weapons in Destiny 2. And downing an enemy Guardian in 0.73 seconds doesn't require a great deal of precision. You need to land 7 out of 9 shots and 3 trigger pulls with a 70% crit ratio. And with the roll we have here, there is a lot aiding us in achieving this time to kill. We're tacking on an additional 17 points of range and another 7 points of stability, giving us a slightly tighter and more accurate bullet pattern with each trigger pull. And to go along with that, check out the recoil direction on this weapon. I mean, I couldn't ask for much more. This is nearly true vertical. And just to summarize all that real quick, we have a stable sidearm with improved range and a forgiving bullet combination to hit our optimal time to kill. Plus, we have the highest aim assist value in the archetype, making landing shots that much easier. And then Killing Wind, after we down an enemy Guardian, is adding even more range and allows for increased mobility, which can be extremely valuable given the range that sidearms ask you to play within. And side note, I'm really happy we're seeing Killing Wind on more close range and high rate of fire weapons in Beyond Light. Back in Season of Arrivals when it was first introduced, I don't feel like many of the weapons in the seasonal loot pool made the most of this perk, with maybe False Promises being the exception. But it does feel right at home on High Albedo, boosting one of this weapon archetype's intrinsic drawbacks, accuracy. Another reason I'm really liking High Albedo is the fact that it is a kinetic weapon, which allows me to pair it with a fusion rifle. There has only ever been one 3-round burst adaptive kinetic sidearm in the game before this. That weapon was Last of the Legion, available through the now vaulted Spire of Stars raid, and this was a year 1 weapon that never saw random rolls and is now sunset. And like I said, I am a fusion rifle guy. I always have been. It is my preferred special weapon. And High Albedo, with my nicely rolled main ingredient, just seem to work so well together as a close range loadout. And it is worth noting again that not every Guardian in the Crucible is going to be running Tier 6 Resilience. So here, a 0.5 second potential time to kill, I mean that's really fast. Just a couple drawbacks. High Albedo, it's a sidearm. And sidearms aren't always the easiest weapons to use. To me at least, they've always just felt a little less consistent, a little less accurate, and less forgiving overall. Now we have alleviated a lot of this on this roll of High Albedo, but not completely, because it is still a sidearm. And generally speaking, sidearms really don't fit my playstyle. I try my best to stick to mid to long range engagements. Sidearms do require you to play in a little bit tighter to take full advantage of their strengths. And in tighter is just not where I normally want to be. And at these closer ranges, you are going to have to maintain a certain degree of precision, usually while remaining mobile, tracking your targets, and in this case, timing your burst to hit your optimal time to kills. And you are going to want to do your best to hit that optimal time to kill, because 1.1 seconds for a body shot time to kill on a close range weapon is not great. Then on this specific roll, the results from Headseeker were disappointing. I went into damage testing thinking that on this weapon archetype, the per bullet damage would have been high enough to affect the time to kill with an extra 10% tacked on. And as we saw it, unfortunately, it did not. So I would definitely have to suggest an alternate perk in that column. So for the verdict, I think High Albedo, with the right set of perks, can be a very nice sidearm. And I do like this gun. It's one of the few sidearms that I am actually comfortable using. When I'm on target, my shots just seem to be very consistent with this one, allowing me to play at ranges that I'm generally not keen on. And I can do this because I trust the weapon. If you're not a sidearm user, I would suggest giving a nicely rolled High Albedo a try. And if you're a sidearm connoisseur of sorts, I think you're really gonna like this one. In my opinion, it's definitely at least worth trying out. And let me know what you think if you get a chance to. But if you did enjoy this video, please remember to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the channel to see more Destiny 2 content in the very near future. If you'd like to catch me live, I do occasionally stream on Twitch. You can head over there, look for Ironworker814, drop me a follow, and you'll get notified whenever I hop on. And if you'd like to contact me, the best way to do so is simply to comment down below. I will be sure to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.